Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper and I'm here again for Scrapbook Boutique, and today we're going to be playing with foil. Now I'm going to be using a stencil which is from Heidi Swap and it's called Triangles, and we're going to be foiling this pattern and I'll show you how. I've got a piece of cardstock. It's actually larger than what I need, but that's okay, I can always cut it down later. I've taped it to my craft mat and then I'm just going to tape down the stencil over top. So here's this new product that lets you use your stencils and stamps with foil. It's called Transfer Gel and it's made by DecoFoil. I've been waiting for this to come back into stock and I'm so excited to play with it for the first time today. So it comes in a sealed container. I'm just removing the seal and not wasting any of that because I can use this stuff with all the foils that I've started collecting. So basically you just apply it like you would any other sort of embossing paste or texture paste, and I'm just using my palette knife and scraping it over the top of my stencil, and then any excess that I have I can simply just pop it back in the jar. Now you do need to actually wash the stencil straight away or put it in a bowl of water because it's actually an adhesive, and this does take time to dry, so I'm going to set this aside now and work on my images. Now Scrapbook Boutique has heaps of new stuff in stock, including these mudra stamps, and I thought it'd be fun to do some simple Tombow watercolouring today. So what I've done is I've used this Wild Rose stamp and stamped it out with some jet black archival ink onto some Bristol cardstock. I'm adding the markers directly to the cardstock and I'm using two colours. They don't really blend that well when you put them on the cardstock, but when you add water, they're easy. They just blend so beautifully and they're really vivid colours. They kind of remind me of the zigs in a lot of ways, in the way that they move on the cardstock. They're beautiful. So mostly I'm adding colour directly to the cardstock today, but I do also use the other technique where I pick up the colour off the block and add it to the image. But you'll see that really soon. I will list all the colours that I use today in my blog, and that'll be linked in the description below. I'll be back really soon when all of the colouring is done. So now it's time to work on my sentiment, and this is from the mudra set called Wishing You. I'm stamping out the main large image with some Lagoon ink from Altenew, and I'm using my Misty because I want to place the second sentiment sort of over top. I've got a piece of scrap acetate and then I can just hold it where I've stamped the image on top of that, and then I held it where I wanted, and then I could pick up the stamp with the lid of the Misty knowing that it's going to be in the right place. Use some Onyx black ink and just stamp the second portion of the stamp straight over top of the first word, and then I can just cut that panel down. Now for the fun part, I'm going to be doing the foiling. I've got a piece of scrap white cardstock. This is the sandwich I'm going to use. A piece of white scrap cardstock, the foiled image, which now looks clear when the transfer gel is dry. It's clear. I've put the foil on top of that with the pretty side facing up, and then I've got one of these carrier sheet holders from Heidi Swap. You don't need one of these, you can just use a piece of computer paper or parchment paper and then have it folded over. So the folded end is the one that you feed into the laminator, and this is just a cheap $20 laminator from Officeworks, and it seems to work really well for me. I have had to speed this up because it takes quite a while to feed through, but the results are worth all the effort. So you can take this off straight away, there's no need to wait, even though it will feel a bit warm. And I did have my laminator on for about 20 minutes before I started. Now look at that. I had to make sure it was nice and hot. I didn't want to ruin this after waiting for it to dry and everything. And doesn't it look fabulous? Alright, so I've cut it down. I'm adding it to the front of my top fold card and just using my ATG adhesive to do that. And I'm just loving this adhesive. It goes such a long way. I don't feel like I'm wasting, you know those little tape rolls when you buy them, they feel so expensive. Okay, my flowers and my leaves, I fussy cut them out. I didn't include that in today's tutorial because you've seen me fussy cut before, and this is mostly about foiling. Alright, so they're all fussy cut out. I'm just popping up my sentiment. I have used a bit of fun foam behind that and some score tape to hold that in place. I figured it was wise to use something that was going to be fairly strong because of the foiling. I don't know how other glues would, oh there's my cat, how other glues would hold up on the foiling, but I'm sure a liquid glue would work just as well. I've added some fun foam behind the flowers with some score tape as well, and for my leaves I decided to use, oh there she goes again. She's a bobtail. Did you see that? She's a bobtail cat. She's so cute when she's not being annoying. Naughty, I should say. And I'm using some glue dots. I'll focus now. Using some glue dots to add my flowers, my leaves behind my flowers. I always leave extra, my leaf stems, I never cut them out properly because that gives me more place to put adhesive so I can stick them behind stuff. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but my sentiment was crooked on the front, so I got over that by just cutting off both sides, and that's my finished card. Thanks for joining me today. I've had a blast. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.